you will look at your business in terms of how much you are selling and to how many outlets you are selling. It is also a daily conversation that you want to have with your team, because your team is very much on top of how their business is going. The only way that you can have logical conversations with your team is if you have enough insights that you have gathered through data. Otherwise, it is very easy for anyone to tell you or explain that this is happening or this is not happening. If you have everything backed up by data, then only you will be able to have those conversations. You might need some kind of analysis at your end, but in order to reach to those KPIs, you might want to look at certain cuts which might not be available there, which you will have to create yourself in case you have your own website. When I say D2C, I mean that you have your own website, right?
Website, okay.
Or some platform where people are coming
storefront
to shop, right? Storefront. So in case you have that, then it becomes very easy. Then you can start looking at the bottom part of the funnel to understand even the effectiveness of your top funnel campaigns.
You can actually make the entire funnel, and at the end of the day, what is the output of that funnel? That how many paying customers do you actually get?
You just want to figure out how do you sell more and how do you sell more to more number of people.
Hi Divyapreet, so good to have you here on the podcast. How are you doing?
Hi, thank you so much for having me here. I'm good. Quite a busy week so far. So I'm really sorry that I was late a bit, but yeah, looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you so much for making out time for this. I mean, I've personally worked with you and known you for, I don't know, like 7 years, maybe more.
Yeah.
But why don't you just take a moment to help our audience understand what has been your journey from the very early days, right after your postgrad, to now heading the marketing division of Wella?
Yeah. And quite a journey in the last 7 years also. I think we met when I was a brand manager at that point of time, and getting
Right.
trained from you on Power BI. But yes, it's been quite a journey. I started, now I'm a regular engineer. So I started my career as in engineering, where I did computer science from IP University in Delhi. And from there on, I went to Infosys, where I spent some good 1.5, 2 years there. From then, I decided that, okay, I want to pursue further education, zero down on doing MBA. Started with by my CAT and eventually got into Lucknow, where I did my PGDM in marketing and finance. Again, at that point of time, I was quite interested in both the fields, in marketing as well as finance. So I thought that let me pursue both of these and see where my career takes and how it takes shape.
Sure.
So from there, I got placed in Kellogg's. It was always a dream to get into an FMCG organization, because that offers a true brand or marketing experience, right? This was something which was always something that you were hearing from your colleagues and from your friends, that if you really want to get a good brand experiences, you should get into an FMCG organization. I got to Kellogg's, which was again not a big giant, but a MNC which was fairly settled in Indian market, at least for the 15 years, close to 1,000 crores of business at that point of time. Joined there as management trainee, doing the different stints, right? And it was quite an experience for me, because right from being a salesman, where I was going from shop to shop and selling choppers, 5 rupee, 10 rupee pack to
Really? Okay.
Yes, I did that. I did that for almost 1 month, where I was basically shadowing a salesman initially, and then I was a salesman for the whole the beat. And the idea was for you to understand what the life of a salesman is all about, what are the kind of challenges they usually face. Then went on to doing a stint as a sales officer. So once you were the salesman, then you become sales officer. I did that for almost 2-3 months, and then an ASM stint. Now, the interesting thing was that all these three stints usually happen in different locations, because you don't want to work with certain set of people and then immediately become their boss. And that's usually that
Yeah.
they make these stints separate. But in my case, it was all in the same location. So I was in Indore. I was working as a salesman there, then went on as a sales officer, and then went on as an ASM stint. All of these trainings, also did my marketing stint in Mumbai. So all of these trainings stints took almost 1 year. From that thing, I was given the responsibility of handling initially MP as the territory, as area sales manager for the general trade channel. From there, I got additional responsibility of Chhattisgarh. So I was handling MP and Chhattisgarh together. And then moved to modern trade where I was handling the entire West region except Mumbai. So quite an experience. Sales, I think, was very it was a very grounded experience because I was able to witness exactly what happens in the
Sure.
market, right? And exactly how the business is done, right? Whatever plans and schemes and everything that people in the office make, how they are actually executed in the
Um,
market. Uh,
sure.
again, quite a successful stint for me also because our territory was the number one territory for 2 years back to back in the entire pan India performance that they used to measure. And from there, I decided to move on. That is where my entry into the beauty and personal care sector started, which I have been cherishing since then. I went to Nivea, where I joined as a regional shopper and customer marketing manager, which is basically a regional trade marketing manager role. It was quite a new role there, and they were also setting it up, and a lot of metrics, KPIs, what kind of things you want to drive need to be set up.
Sure.
So I worked with my boss to set up that what the responsibilities of the role going to be. In 1 year's time, I was given the opportunity to work as a brand manager, and there my journey in marketing started. Where I started with body wash, shower gel as a category for 1 year, grew that business by 35-36%, and then eventually was given a bigger responsibility of handling a body lotions category, which was the biggest category for Nivea.
Right.
The Nivea stint was for 3 years. So basically 3 years in Kellogg's, 3 years in Nivea, then went to Honasa Consumer where I worked with the
Mamaearth.
yes, Mama to launch a new brand. It was again quite an experience. I was working with Varun directly for a while, and the how the D2C organization function and what is the kind of um, processes that they have in place, how they are able to do things so quickly, right? All
Hmm.
these things were very important. How they are thinking also was very different compared to a
Sure.
traditional FMCG or
Sure.
beauty organization.
Sure.
And yes, from there, then I moved to Wella company as marketing head. Started this stint in 2022, and it's been 3 years. Quite a successful years for us. Our business has been growing by upwards of in double digits, and we have also been gaining market share. We are a strong number two player in the market currently. And yes,
Awesome.
I think
Awesome.
looking forward to the future years also this year, we have great plans for the organization, for the brand. So yeah, looking forward.
Awesome. Awesome. Since we mostly speak about data and data-driven decision making, be it any business function, I'm curious to know that from your initial days of going out and selling the chocolates and the cereal,
Yeah,
where in your career did you see that your work was being more data driven, and like which phase of life did you move on from the field to more of looking at the data and then intelligently making decisions based off that
I think it was from the beginning only because
from the beginning? Okay.
see, even if I keep the stints aside, right? When I joined as the area sales manager, you are handling MP Chhattisgarh territory. You have 10 people working in your team in different territories, right? Again, in those under those 10 people, you have a lot of salesmen who are working the field and going to the market. There is no way that you will be able to know what is exactly happening in the market and how the business is doing and where the growth opportunities are without looking at data. So I think from the very first day, I had to make Excel my very good friend and work on it day in, day out. I remember I was just going through my Google Drive and I could see that what were the first kind of templates that I had made when I
Sure.
actually started my career. I was looking at those and I was saying, okay, that was quite a basic work that I used to do, given that what now at what level we have reached. But again, the point is that the data has always been very, very important, right? Right from assessing the performance of an individual to understanding where the gaps are or where the opportunities lie. We at that point of time were handling an SKU base of close to 30, 35, right? So you have 35 SKUs that you are selling into the market. You have a team of close to 50 salesmen who are going into the market and selling those. Thousands of outlets where you are selling it. Again, those outlets are categorized into different types, and you need to understand that which type of outlet is doing what kind of business and how the performance is, because the metrics for evaluation will be different for different types, right? So let's say for a smaller outlet, you will just look at growth, but for a bigger outlet, you would also want to look at that what are the number of SKUs, what is kind of range that you are putting into the market, how frequently the billing is happening to the outlet, right? Is it only limited to the beginning and the ending of the month, or is there a cyclicity which you are able to maintain? How the wholesale business is doing, because that will impact your other sets of business as well. So all of these things are possible only when you are very much comfortable with data and you are working with data day in and day out. Uh, Again, the uh, challenge which was there from the beginning itself was that we were working on very raw form of data, right? You were working on the actual billing that comes out, right? So, for example, if you are billing a particular outlet, that one line which has that one invoice, a single SKU sold, that was the level or the cut that we used to have. And then from there, working on pivots and VLOOKUPs and what are the different models is a new word that I've learned now, but just wanted to recreate whatever the models that you can create at that point of time and
Sure.
which can help you see. The idea was not just to, look at the data once in a month or something like that when your performance review is happening. It is also a daily conversation that you want to have with your team, because your team is very much on top of how their business is going. The only
Absolutely.
way that you can have logical conversations with your team is if you have enough insights, enough information,
Insights.
what you have gathered through data, right? Otherwise, it is very easy for anyone to tell you or explain that this is happening or this is not happening. If you have everything backed up by data, then only you will be able to have those conversations. So, yeah, it was a day in, day out exercise.
Okay. Divyapreet, one question that I have, which particularly excites me, is that you have been on the field, you have been an area sales manager, an officer, a brand manager, a category manager, and even headed the entire marketing division. How does your perspective or the KPIs change as you move up the levels? Like, what were you taking a look at when you were at ground zero in the field and maybe just above the field? And what do you look at every single stage as you progress upwards in the ladder? Like, if you can be specific about the very metrics that you take a look at, maybe numbers, okay, disclose, not disclose, that's up to you. But if you can just maybe talk about the metrics that you take a look at, that at the holistic level, when I'm heading the company, this is what I want to take a look at. But at the brand category level, this is what I want to take a look at. And the reasons why.
I will answer that in two parts. One is that the basics of the business are same irrespective of what level in the organization you are operating in, right? So, for example, at the very basic level, you will look at your business in terms of how much you are selling and to how many outlets you are selling, right?
Sure.
Which we call distribution, and what is the depth, what is my width and what is my depth. These are the things that you would want to understand, look at, to see how your business is going, what is the volume that you are selling and how many people you are reaching out to. Now, once you move to different levels, let's say between sales marketing or even between area sales manager to now being heading the marketing, right? The sources of information that you have, they significantly change and increase. For example, as an area sales manager, the only information that I might look at is the internal sales data, right? That internal sales data will tell me because my KPIs are linked to delivering the business and the growth for the area that I've been
That
given.
you were assigned to. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. So I will look at the internal sales data. In some cases, for bigger organization, I might also look at Nielsen data to understand how the offtakes have been. But that will be the extent of what I'm looking at. Current level that I am in, I look at internal sales data. I look at Nielsen data. I look at penetration data. I look at any kind of category insights that I can get, which can be a subjective information, which can then needs to be converted into some kind of qualitative or quantitative analysis. I also need to look at internal data from different perspectives. So not just the sales that we are doing, but also the kind of offtakes, branded search, keywords, etc., information that I can trends that I can get from different sources. So I think your sources of information significantly increase, and then you want to eventually use these information from different sources to arrive at your understanding, your insights, your conclusion of what is going right in your business and where are the things, where are the opportunities, or which can be the key drivers for you to work on to get to the growth that you want, right?
Sure.
To give you an example, let's say when I was working in MP Chhattisgarh as an ASM, at that point of time we were working on oats as a category, which was plain oats as a category, right?
Okay.
The one of the assignments or one of the analysis that we had done on data on a particular city in Chhattisgarh, I will not name the city, a particular city in Chhattisgarh, was that the growth in plain oats, or the sheer volume of the plain oats that we were selling in the 1 kg pack was significantly higher than any other city, even in my own territory. So, for example, it was the
Okay.
highest in all the cities that I was working in. Now, that city from the population perspective is not very big. So, it was not making sense that how a city which is, let's say, 1/10 of a population of the biggest city that I have is able to sell more, right? Then we also looked at some of the other markets. For example, I also looked at Maharashtra and see that if there is any city in Maharashtra and how the trends which are going on there. So I could see that this particular city is selling almost half of what Mumbai sells, right? And that was also a surprising data to me, because how is that possible? Again, this city is so small that how is it able to sell so much? So then you look at some qualitative aspects of it to understand what could have been the reasons, right? You look at Nielsen data and understand that the category itself is growing very fast in that particular city. Why is the category growing fast? Because the population, although less, the it's more younger, it's more office going, right, or
Right.
corporate population, wherein the awareness about oats is significantly higher. The sale also, we were able to see that the outlets which were closer to gyms, right, whatever gym or fitness centers, had higher sale compared to, let's say, any other locations. So these were the kind of things that you were able to look at to understand that this particular city has a much higher potential than you are probably uh, thinking that this could do, right? So once you understand that there is a potential and an opportunity here, then you can plan your actions accordingly. So we planned
Very
certain
interesting.
promotions specifically for that city, and eventually it became even bigger than Mumbai, right, in terms of the sheer volume of business that we were doing, right? So these are the kind of things that you can look at. Again, the information there was very much limited to what is happening in that city in terms of business, what is happening in any benchmark city that I'm looking at in terms of internal business, and some category information which can help me understand. If I have to make that kind of decision now, let's say I'm working on a brand, Wella Professionals as a brand, and I want to make any kind of decision on how to grow Wella Professionals as a brand, I will have to look at different metrics. I will have to look at different sources of data. And that is where this change. Only internal sales is not going to help me, or only
Hmm.
not going to help me in understanding or pinpointing the right levers for growth for me. I will also
Hmm.
to look at, let's say, information from e-commerce. I'll have to look at information from HHP, from Nielsen, from different sources of syndicated reports that I can get my hands to. I will also have to look at some qualitative inputs from consumer understanding, consumer research, from any kind of, let's say, portals like Mintel, which provide some kind of trends which you can work on. So that's where I think the key difference lies. But in the end, the basics of business remain very much same. In the end, you just want to figure out how do you sell more and how do you sell more to more number of people.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, there's another thing that we have experienced. We have done a lot of consulting work with you in the past, with Nivea, other companies as well, FMCG companies as well. And generally, what we have seen is that companies try to go central in terms of business intelligence. So, a central division is going to create a report, and they would expect their salespeople and all the other people to use the same report to drive their own businesses.
Yes.
In your opinion, when you were working as an ASM or as a brand category manager, how often were the centralized reports helpful? And if they were not, what additional, like, did you ever have the need to take a look at separate metrics that that the central business team could not even think of, that this is also what my person would need in terms of driving the business forward?
No, that always happens, and that happens between departments also, because let's say if there is one BI report centrally that you have in your organization where you are looking at a very top level view of the business, how it is doing. The maximum level of cuts that probably you will see is how different brands are performing, how different outlet types are performing, how your distribution, how your value volume sale is going, what is your MSL, whether that is getting met or not. Right? There will be certain metrics that you have defined for the organization which you will be looking at. But as let's say a brand manager or a category head, you might want to look at a city level information. You might want to look at a product level cut. You might want to create your own cut. For example, I very clearly remember that we didn't used to have any cut on shower gel when I used to work as brand manager to define the product size type. But I could understand that product size type is becoming very important because the smaller sizes are actually gaining significant traction. So I had
Mm-hmm.
to define that cut in my MDM,
I
where
see.
I had to say that okay, this size to this size I define as small. There is no standard
Hmm.
difference, but I
Sure.
define that this size to this size is small, this size to this size is medium, and this size to this size is large, right? And now start seeing data and through those cuts. So you might need some kind of analysis at your end. You might want to build on top of the reports that you are getting centrally, right? But yes, if there is nothing, then compared to that, having some kind of central reporting is always helpful, because it uh, gives people some understanding on the basic KPIs that the organization wants to drive, right?
Sure.
So that's why I think a lot of organizations now work towards a central reporting mechanism where there are certain set of reports which are circulated to different departments, different team members, so that everyone is aligned on what kind of KPIs the organization wants you to drive. But in order to reach to those KPIs, you might want to look at certain cuts which might not be available there, which you will have to create yourself, or get someone else to create those kind of dashboards for you.
Another thing that I often think is important for, especially for a business leader, is that you don't really want to do all the work yourself. You also want your team to be capable of doing the work for you or thinking in
Yes.
that way. If one would have to join your team at Wella, work with you, what are the critical things that you would check um, as an individual, like critical skills that you would check in that individual?
Yeah. So see, this is also something which has been changing, right, from when I was a brand manager, let's say, to now.
Absolutely.
Right. So there is a lot more focus on digital now, and a lot more
Right.
focus on digital means a lot of information that you currently have, which can help you analyze and change the course of your campaigns while you are running it. Right. So in case of traditional, that kind of option use was not there. For example, in my time, we used to look at a pre-eval and a post-eval. That once you are working on a plan, you will look at the pre-eval to see that how your plan is going to perform as per whatever you have
Right.
metrics you have defined, and whatever definitions you have put into the system. But then you will look at the post-eval to see that whether your performance was in line with the pre-eval or not. But now, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. But now you can actually look at data real time. Now you can actually look at reports more frequently. You can look at metrics to understand that what are the kind of changes that you should be making in your campaigns to, number one, make your campaigns more effective, and number two, save money if, for example, you are spending on something which is not giving you the right kind of ROI. What I mean by that is, let's say if now I have to run an ad, I can create some 6 different types of content, right?
Right. See which
Run
one is
those,
working.
run those content, run at the right metrics. So, for example, there is a click-through rate, which usually is a metric that we use to define the quality of the content. If the quality of the content is good, that means more and more people are clicking on your ad, right? That means the
Right.
click-through rate will be higher. So, if your a particular type of content is giving you a higher click-through rate, that means you would want to scale it up, right?
Right.
If it is not giving, that means you need to stop that campaign. That
Hmm.
means you now want to immediately stop or control the amount of money that you are
Money
spending
that is going inside. Yeah.
that is going inside. And that this is just one example which I am putting in front of you. The idea is that people who have experience in digital marketing or working in digital setups, that is something which I definitely look at, because that gives them an edge on understanding or evaluating their marketing activations on a real-time basis, or a higher frequency basis, to make them more effective, right?
Sure.
There was a time when in influencer marketing, people were not able to understand exactly how do we measure that how a particular influencer marketing campaign is doing for you, how a particular creator is performing for you. Now, if
Right.
you look at D2C brands, they have their own way of figuring out till the purchase level whether a particular influencer is actually leading to business impact or not, right?
Right. Right.
Similarly, for a non-D2C organization also, where you don't have the visibility till the purchase part of it, you are looking at other metrics like engagement rate, to understand that whether there is enough engagement which is happening on your content that you have created with an influencer or not, right? So this becomes one important factor for me, that if you have had experience in a digital first brand, or you have worked on brands where digital marketing was a key way of doing any kind of activation on the brand, so that is something which becomes important. Obviously, the person has to be data driven. Now, by data driven is something that you hear a lot, right? कि Data driven,
Yeah.
ये data driven approach चाहिए. So, what is exactly data driven? Someone who is comfortable with data,
Right.
someone who
Right.
doesn't get scared, or someone who has done the decision making in their lives or in their career so far basis some kind of data analysis, right? Rather than just working on their intuition, right? In marketing, I think it's very, very important that whatever decision making that you are doing has to be backed by something, right?
Right.
Can be either your conversation with the consumer, it can be either based on some study which was done by someone else, it can be based on data, it can be based on different sources of information that you are collecting, right?
Sure.
But it has to be based on something, at least in my opinion, right? So these are the kind of things which I usually look for people. And obviously, if I'm
Right.
looking for a brand manager, I would look for a relevant experience also in the beauty category, because I feel beauty category generally, there is a difference in which different categories work. The kind of
Right.
experience that someone would have in beauty would can be very different uh,
Sure.
to, let's say, a food or something else, or a beverage.
Let's say that maybe a new joinee or somebody can have these relevant skills, can also be data driven.
Yes.
But how do you think of upskilling the current workforce that you might have in your team, who may have the business understanding, but but they may just make decisions based off the gut, but not really taking a look at the data? Now, this could be just not taking a look at the data, or sheer, you know, the lack of understanding of how do you maneuver through all of this data.
Yeah.
So, how do you plan to like skill them up? Do you continuously do any kind of training for them, any interventions at your own level as a leader? How do you kind of make sure that the team is skilled and they kind of perform work with data enough?
No, I think, like you said, the reasons for someone not to be uh, working on data-led decision making can be different. For example, it can also be a person not comfortable with data the way probably we thought that they should be. It is also possible that your data source itself is so raw in nature that you have to do a lot
Hmm.
of slicing, cuts, a lot of analysis on that data every time to get to a specific very basic number. For example, even on a basic growth distribution, you have to do a count function every time and all of those things, right? Which might, which is something which is time consuming for someone. There is a possibility that they are not able to understand that how different data sources can be combined to give you the intelligent insights, right? So it can come from anything, right? So there are different levels in which you have to cater to it. One is that if there is a concern with any kind of basic skills, that is something that they need to be trained on, right? So, for example, in a recent exercise, we realized that our team is very much able in terms of basic Excel skills and working on data, but creating reusable models is or templates is something that they were not able to do, and they had to do a lot of work every time
To get to
that
the, yeah,
presented information. And that is where we reached out to you, right? And with that
sure.
statement saying that, okay, this is something which we want solved for our team. So that is one way of training or getting the team skilled. Obviously, that is something which is not enough, right? That has to be coupled with the more rigorous requirements or demands in terms of them presenting data to you, right? Uh, if you have trained the team in a particular skill and you want them to really get very comfortable with it, the only way to do it is a lot of practice, right? And that practice
Certainly.
come with real-time problem solutions. So, for example, now each of my team member is working on creating models which are very specific requirements for their job,
For there.
their role,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which is something which they only have defined. I have not told them that, okay, this is the kind of model that you should come prepared with. I've only asked them that what are the kind of things that you want to look at? What are the kind of things that I want to look at on regular basis, right? I should not be, we should not be able to, let's say, waste a lot of time saying that, okay, I want to look at this data. You will take 2 days time or 3 days time. Then you will come to me and then you will do the analysis. That should not happen.
Right. Right.
We want to look at the data because there is some kind of urgency which is required from business perspective. So we should be able to look at it at any point of time. So that is currently what they are working on, and I hope that they are able to create something which is useful for them and keep using that. But I think, like I said, you have to set up as a leader. I have to set up the right requirements, reviews, these kind of things in place for them to be practicing on data a lot. And having those kind of conversations also. For example, if there is a decision which is made, that decision needs to be properly discussed, analyzed, questioned, that how did we arrive at a particular uh, action point, right? And what the sources of information that you looked at. So I think that that's how you solve for this situation. And it is, as you mentioned, it is something which is very important, and it is every person might be on a different stage there and might need a different kind of guidance on what kind of help they need. But
Mm.
most of the times there are some general solves which are possible, like the one we did with this model and template thing.
Right. Right. AI has been spoken about a lot in the last few months and years, probably. And you work obviously with marketing. Tell us, what is the real impact and how are you really using AI if you are in your company, and how do you think that the jobs are going to change? Most importantly, I want to know, what is the real use of AI that you're putting it to versus what is just being hyped about? Like, what is still not possible?
So I think this is also something which is evolving as we speak, right? So for example, today I had a conversation with my one of my team members on one of the vendors that globally we have now um, onboarded, where they have an AI capability which can help us with any content creation from scratch that we want to do. Right, this
Right.
is something which was not possible. Which this is something which we had to give to agencies to work on. I think the use cases are there quite a lot. In my current scope, what how we are able to use AI is to visualize if there are any ideas that we want to brief someone about. For example, if let's say there is an event which I'm doing and there are certain ideas which I have in mind. Earlier, those briefs used to be only in some kind of written document or some kind of verbal conversation that we used to have with the
Right.
person to explain. Now we are able to at least put some shape to our ideas, saying that, okay, this is how I'm thinking and this is how I feel it should look like. Now you tell me what you think about it, right? So this is just one basic simple way in which AI can be used to express yourself in a more visual or in a better manner, right? Apart from that, at a very basic level, some basic content or basic copies that you want to create for social media, that is something which is possible through AI. Earlier, you would have, again, you would reach out to an agency who would charge for every copy that they are creating.
Right.
Very basic level, you can do that. You still, I think, I still feel that there is the AI can still not replace completely, right? What a manual intervention can do, but at a some very basic stuff. For example, if
Any example of where you feel AI incapable of doing the stuff that you would really want to do and where you need human intervention?
see, I will tell you where I am more comfortable in using. For example, if there
Sure.
is a product post which I have to do. Now that product post is very simple and there is a very clear, simple copy that I want to put in for that product post.
Right.
that is something which I will use AI to create.
When you
But
say post, you mean to say an ad?
yes, an ad on social media,
Yeah.
on social media handle, right?
Right. Okay.
But let's say if there is a strategic collaboration that I have done with certain brand or certain content creator, right?
Right.
And we are putting some content regarding that, which I know is going to reach out to a lot of people, which I know is important from the messaging perspective, that whatever cues or whatever pointers that I want to talk about my brand, other brand or the creator should also feature in that and all of those things. Right. Usually for that kind of work, I will not completely depend on AI, right? Because even after giving a lot of cues, you might end up getting in a loop, or you might end up not getting the right uh, output, which probably a copywriter, a person who has this job and who has been working on it for many years, would be able to do.
What advantage does a copywriter have? Like, what additional context or understanding that he has that he's able to not being able to replaced by AI? Like, what exactly does he have as an advantage? Is it information? Is it the skill? Uh, can you maybe describe a little more about that? Like, what lets him keep his job at the moment?
Let's say a copywriter who is working for an agency that I'm working with, right?
Mm-hmm.
That person
Mm-hmm.
has, let's say, a 10 to 12 years of experience. He would have worked on the similar kind of situation, let's say, uh, hundreds of times before, where these
Right.
kind of collaborative posts have been put onto the table, right? So that is one clear experience advantage that the copywriter has. The second
Okay.
advantage that the copywriter has is that working on my brand with me for, let's say, last 3 years.
3 years.
Now,
Okay.
he knows that, he or she knows that what are the kind of do's and don'ts guidelines that are very clearly defined by my brand and the kind of work that we want to deliver, right?
Hmm.
So that information is also something which is available, and obviously
Hmm.
uh, over time they also develop certain skill which I think is very specific and unique to them. Every copywriter can be
Sure.
very
Sure.
different, right,
Okay.
in terms of
Got
how
it.
they are able to express and present themselves. For example, uh, uh, let's take an external example, right? So imagine what Swiggy and Zomato are doing in terms of the notifications that you get, right? They are
Right.
quirky, they are interesting.
Yes.
Everyone gets a laugh, right? Or everyone also appreciates the kind of this thing, and it is something which is very uh, important for them, because they don't want to get lost out in all the notifications that are coming on the phone, right? They want
Right.
you to read whatever they are putting out there. So that is something which is done by a copywriter. Now, can it be replaced by an AI? Uh, Probably yes, with some, eventually, with a lot of interventions. But currently, I think that is something which requires a human intervention, which cannot be
Sure.
completely done by an AI. Had it been a generic post, it would have been, right? But if you want to create something unique, something different, which is unique to your brand proposition, you need some kind of human help, in my opinion.
Sure. At the start of the conversation, you said that some generic content that you used to create earlier and you used to hire an agency now can be done by AI. What kind of content were you referring to?
So any kind of, let's say, product post that you want to do, if you have the product image and you want to do let's say, a post which has ingredients, texture, right? You can have, let's say, we have a nail brand, so any kind of nail application on Indian hand is something now I can do with AI instead of
Right.
hiring a hand model, right?
Right.
Uh,
And taking
Doing it,
snapshots. Yeah.
right? So all of these things are possible. Flat lays, which are very common on social media, where you have product and certain elements which are linked to the product on a flat lay. That is something which earlier used to be shot, and these photographers used to take anywhere between a 2,000 to 2,500 for one post. Now this is something which can be done through AI.
Are you actively testing or evaluating your new hires or anybody coming to the marketing division to have certain skills to be able to think creatively and use AI for these skills? Or they just happen to come and kind of grow into the business and then learn along the way?
Not yet, but I
I
think it
see.
will be required in future, because currently, as I said, we are also evolving and we are also figuring out what are the kind of AI capabilities we can use
Sure.
to this functionality which I was talking about in terms of content creation is also something which is very new. Uh,
Right.
and once we start scaling on it, then we will have to look at these kind of skills as well on how someone is able to. If, for example, we decide to have a person in house who is getting trained on these kind of tools and platforms, then we will also need some people with experience or that kind of mm, I'll say thought process to create or use the particular tool in a meaningful manner, right?
Sure,
So
sure.
that is also important.
Divyapreet, one, like we happen to work with a lot of mid-size and large-size companies. But if a smaller, let's say FMCG or a beauty company starts getting traction, it's growing fast, yet very small at the moment,
Yeah.
but they don't have any kind of metrics or data analysis practices put into place where they can start to measure metrics that define the brand. Not necessarily sales, because sales, almost everybody has the number at the back of their head that how much did I sell. But in terms of reach and brand recall and things like that, they are growing, they are very small yet. What are the key KPIs or metrics that you would suggest that a newly growing company should start tracking in order for them to have a long-term sustained advantage if they start taking a look at the data in that particular way? Do you have any thoughts on this?
Um, okay. So see, you are saying that we keep the sales aside, right? Because sales is
Yeah,
something
say yes.
again
Yeah,
very differently looked at by a new
yeah.
company or a small company versus a big
Okay.
company. Because
Yeah,
well, let's say I'm assuming that a small company which is building its digital and e-commerce capability has access to a lot of data now.
lot of data. Yeah,
They use that data for even making decisions on other parts of their business. So, for example, I know this for the fact that uh, offline sales planning that a D2C organization can do is much more effective than a traditional organization how they usually plan, because a traditional organization would look at the population metrics, the category
sure,
metrics from Nielsen,
sure,
etc. The
sure.
D2C organization also has the pin code analysis on their D2C platform, that what kind of pin codes are giving them what kind of sale numbers, and they can plan their go to market decisions accordingly. So, for example, they can decide that this is a market which I want to activate first compared
Right,
to the other market, because that is where I'm already seeing traction, right?
right,
So, I think that is one way in which they are using those capabilities quite effectively, and smaller organizations can also
right.
because Google Analytics is something which is very basic that they will have access to, and they will be able to see a lot of information there.
Uh-huh.
The second thing, which is about information that they might not be able to look at or have. Let's say, for any marketer, it is important to understand what the awareness of their brand is, right? If a brand is so small, the kind of consumer dipstick which bigger organizations will do, where they will get to understand the top of mind awareness and consideration, the entire funnel, what the numbers that they will
Sure,
to track and
sure,
see. That is
sure.
something which probably these guys will not invest in, because the awareness itself will be very small. In that case, they can do some basic, they can create their own different benchmarks for the kind of metric that they should look at. For example, if they are really looking, if they are having any kind of traction or not, then they can look at the searches on Google Trends, right? They can see if their Google
With
search
their own
with
brand
the
name.
huge brand name, right? With the
Okay.
product name that they are activating. For example, if they want to really understand if their campaign is doing well or not, if let's say usually if they are running any kind of ad, uh, the branded searches on Amazon increase, right? If
I
that is
see.
happening, that means you are and that information they will easily have, right? If they are available on Amazon, they will have access to Amazon Pie. They can get information to Amazon branded searches, and they will be able to know that if their campaign is having any kind of impact in
Amazon sells this data, or you can get it for free?
if you are I think listed, and that is part of what Amazon provides. So
I
if
see.
you are a seller and you are selling a particular product, you have certain agents, then how your agents, your brand name is performing, all of this information analysis and some basic category information is something that Amazon provides through Pi.
I see. Okay, interesting. Anything else that comes to your mind? So we have pin code, we have searches on Google Trends, brand searches on Amazon.
Yes.
Uh,
So these are the kind of things that they can look at if to understand if whatever measures that they are doing as a brand are giving them some information or not, right? So yes, they don't need to like do the kind of things which a bigger brand will do. Invest a lot
sure.
of money. For example, any consumer lipstick will easily cost you 4 to 5 lakhs, right? So that is the kind of money that they don't need to invest because it will also not give them the right
The
metric because the
return.
brand is
Yeah.
not that big yet.
Right.
Uh, on quantitative stuff, qualitative stuff as well. No, so we have talked about quantitative stuff, but on qualitative stuff as well, the kind of choices that the smaller brands can make can be very they can make basically effective choices compared to a bigger brand. So let's say a very basic thing is that if you want to launch any new product into the market or any new communication into the market, you do a basic concept creation and concept testing. Now,
Mhm.
concept is nothing but it can be a product concept or communication concept. It basically outlays from the consumer insight to the final offering that you are giving, that what was the problem or that the consumer was facing, what is the insight that you derived out of it, and what is the offering that you have, what and how why people should believe that this offering will work to solve a particular problem. There are certain elements in concept that you write again that helps you, but that becomes your guiding document for any kind of launches or any kind of new communication that you want to do. Now, to do a concept testing, a larger organization might employ, let's say, an agency like Nielsen, who will do a quantitative analysis called basis, which again will be significant in terms of the expenditure or the spend that you are doing. But let's say for a smaller organization, they can do a basic qualitative analysis by talking to consumers in FGDs and getting understanding on how they can improve their concept and whether a particular concept is working for them or not working for them.
Mm.
So there are like to like things which can be done, which can be more resourceful compared to what a larger organization would spend on.
Interesting. A lot of times, marketeers get caught in vanity metrics. So, for example, if you are assessing an influencer, one of the vanity metrics that I particularly think is a subscriber mark or like a follower count.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, which can be bought as well.
Yes.
But the real metrics are like engagement and things like that. So
Yes.
do you think that in the general purview of marketing in today's digital world,
Hmm.
what do you think are vanity metrics that digital marketeers can take a look at it, but they should not rely on those things to,
Yeah.
kind of make decisions? And what
Yes.
are the real metrics that are sitting behind, which often go unseen and untalked about? So, do you have any
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
Yeah. Yes. So, for example, for any ad that you do, reach is a very vanity metric. Why I'm saying
Reach.
that
Okay.
because in
Okay.
India, reach is very easy, right? I
I
can.
see.
We have a lot of population, so we are a lot of people, so it's very easy to get to a millions of numbers on reach, right? What you need to understand is that whether you are reaching out to the right set of audience or not. Now, how will you figure out whether you are reaching out to the right set of audience or not? You will look at other along with reach. For example, there is a possibility that you have a reach goal, right? That you want to do an awareness campaign, you want to reach out to a lot of people. That's okay. But generally, the benefit of a digital marketing setup is that you can reach out to the right set of audience. How you then evaluate whether you are reaching out to the right set of audience is through other metrics that you are getting. Like
Which
what
are?
is your CPC, what is your CPM, what is your CTR, what is your VTR. So let's say if you are running a static ad, what is the click-through rate? Whether people are actually clicking your ad or not. Let's say I'm doing an awareness campaign on a product which costs 900 rupees, right? And my audience definition is not done correctly. What my agency or what I have done while setting up my campaign is that I'm reaching out to people in the age group of 18 to 35, like a
Right.
flat audience, and whoever has interacted with beauty products and all of that, right? What will happen?
Right.
That a lot of those people, when they see that the product that I in question that I have, right? If I have mentioned the price of the product on the ad itself, is something which is not, which is something that they can't afford or which is not for them, right? Then in that case, they will not click on the ad. If they will not click on the ad, the CTR will be less. So that is one way of you to evaluate whether that is correct or not.
Yeah, it will just be helpful to just like expand the word CTR, because a lot of people would not know it. Like
Click
click
through rate.
through.
That
Yeah, yeah,
means
yeah,
how
yeah.
many people actually clicked on your, how many people saw your ad and how many people clicked on your ad, right?
Clicked on it. Okay.
Right. A better metric can be a CPC or a CPM. So a lot of times what will happen, CPC is cost per click, right?
Cost per click.
How much, let's say, if you are running a Meta ad, how much is Meta charging you for a click for an ad, right? And CPM is cost per million impressions,
Right.
right? Now, what happens? A higher CPM usually denotes a more niche targeting,
Right.
and a lower CPM denotes a very broad targeting. So
Got it.
more broad your targeting is, the lower the CPM will be, because it is very easy for Meta to get to the right consumer for you. So let's say if I have, and again, same example, a 900 rupee product, right, that I want to talk about. Now, this time in the creative, I have not mentioned the pricing, right?
Hmm.
So, my CDR will still happen because people might be liking my ad. People might be liking
Right.
creative. They are not aware कि ये मेरे range में है, नहीं है, right?
Right.
Now, if your CPM is very low, that indicates that you need to look at how you have defined your audience when you were setting up your campaign, right?
Right.
If
Okay.
your audience definition is broader than, or very broad, that means that your CPM will be very low. Now, if you want to reach out to specific set of audience, I want to reach out to people uh, in the age group of 18 to 25 who have shown interest in beauty, who have used or shown interest in specific benchmark brands in other categories that I have defined, which will help me identify that they are in the right income group or they will be able to afford my product or not. In that case, it will be more difficult. The more conditions you will put, it will be more difficult for Meta to find the right audience for you, and hence the cost per million impression will be higher. So
Higher. Right.
that gives you an understanding on your effective reach as well, right?
Right. And any other metrics that you think are vanity? For example, reach was one.
Reach impression is both, right? So impression is nothing
Impressions.
but your
Okay.
reach multiplied by frequency. So like say if you are reaching out to 10 people and every person is watching your ad thrice, then your impression is 30, right?
Right.
So in case of paid media campaign, this another thing can be, and let's say in case of a non-skippable ad, a
Mm-hmm.
VTR is a vanity metric, because for a skippable ad, view through rate becomes very important. You want to see that someone had an option to skip your ad, still they saw your video on YouTube,
Right.
right?
Right.
So VTR becomes an important metric when it is a skippable ad. When it is a non-skippable ad, it becomes a vanity metric, because the मैंने skip का option ही नहीं दिया है, तो in that case, if someone
Right.
is, let's say, whatever the VTR is, I don't care.
I don't care. Like.
Similarly, in case of influencer, if you are, let's say, reaching out, you want to reach out to a creator who has female followership, then let's say you figured out a creator who has a 1 million reach,
Mm-hmm.
has a 7% engagement rate, which is great, right? Generally, the benchmark is 3 to 4% in case of any, uh, uh,
Which platform is that?
let's say Instagram, right?
Instagram. Okay.
Now, but the followership is 30% female, 70% male, right? So,
Uh,
is the followership correct for you,
right. Okay.
right? You are getting engagement because people are liking, commenting
Mm-hmm.
on the content, right? But the followership is majorly male. You are looking for a female consumer. So you are looking for a creator which has higher female followership. So that's why whenever I want to look at, let's say, an influencer, if I'm selecting, right, I would look at, apart from reach, obviously, which is important, right, to
Right.
identify that what is the level of people that I'm reaching out to. I also want to look at the female followership ratio. I also
Right.
want to look at that what was the engagement rate on all the paid content that they did, not on the
I
regular.
see.
A
I
regular
see.
content engagement rate can be very different than a paid content engagement rate, right? So that kind of numbers I would want to look at. I would want to look at what is the number of views that they get on each of their reels that they do, for example. There is a possibility that there is a 1 million follower person, but the average view that they get on their reel is hardly 50,000, right?
Right. Okay.
These are the kind of things that you would want to
Yeah. You. Yeah.
understand.
You would want to go behind the curtains and take a look at the
Yes.
the actual numbers that are going to make sense. So you can simulate that if I were to just engage with this person, I am looking at these numbers to kind of follow through my brand collaboration as well.
Yes. And just lastly, in case you have your own website, when I say D2C, I mean that you have your own website, right?
Website, okay.
Or some platform where people are coming
Storefront.
to
Yeah.
shop, right? Storefront. So in case you have that, then it becomes very easy. Then you can start looking at the bottom part of the funnel to understand even the effectiveness of your top funnel campaigns. What I mean by that is, let's say you can start looking at the conversion rates to
Right.
understand if a particular campaign is doing well or not, right?
Hmm.
Because that gives you a very effective metric or measure of how many people actually got converted with
Hmm.
whatever ad that you were showing, right? These CTR, CPC, CPMs, these are the benchmark kind of ways to identify this only because you don't have your own website. So you don't have the visibility on the purchase, right?
Right.
If
Okay.
you have visibility on purchase, that is something that you can definitely look at to understand the
Yeah.
other metrics as well.
Yeah, you can actually make the entire funnel from
Yes.
the reach to the impressions
Yes.
to all of that. And
Yes.
at the end of the day, what is the output of that funnel? That how many
Yes.
paying customers do you actually get? How many repeat customers do you get? And then once you have your site, you can kind of run the loyalty programs, and you can have like repeat buys, repeat purchases, and a whole lot of these things can
Yes,
also be.
remarketing
Yeah,
you can do email
yeah,
marketing with some kind of offers. Let's say you have done add to cart, but you have not purchased, then you can send an email saying that I'll give you extra 5% off if you
yeah,
do that.
yeah,
So all these things
yeah,
can be done.
yeah. Very interesting. Very interesting. Divyapreet, it was a fantastic conversation with you. I loved it. Your perspective on using data, applying the first principles of thinking about what do you need, and then deriving on the metrics that are going to be helpful in kind of getting to those numbers that actually help drive decisions. So this was a fantastic conversation. I hope to bring you once again on the podcast sometime again soon. But thank you so much for your time on this.
Thank you so much, Sandeep. I had a great time. It was really insightful and amazing to discuss all of these things, right? It gives you sets things in the right perspective. So thank you so much for having me.
Thanks a lot.